What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Top Deck Gaming. My name is Big Juan Robles, aka Stan Nelson, and today I have a very special feature. I'm here with a good friend of mine, Daniel Hearst. He's somebody that I've my team has been playtesting with for the last few months, and he's going to be giving you guys a spicy little deck profile today. So, Daniel, take it away.
Alright, the deck for today is going to be Fire, Lightning, NVS. In general, the concept is to just play your broken ninjas every turn, and on turn 4 you NVS and try to win the game with that.
Alright, man, let's get right into it.
So, best 0-drop in the game, 3-5-0 Sasuke. Every game you see this, you're happy. In general, there is nothing turn 0, or really turn 1, that actually beats this in combat. Next up, you've got 3-Rock Lee. Because your curve is so low, this allows you to essentially have 6 copies of 5-0 Sasuke, which is really good. And you can also squad out with the 2 Gaara Childhoods in the deck. Rock Lee Gaara is somewhat not so useful because you don't really have any jutsus in the deck, which make it super relevant. But just in general, having a way to like turn your injured Gaara or injured Rock Lee into something relevant, which is nice. Since we're not running jutsus, 3 Kiba is essentially a staple. It essentially blanks 9 cards or 8 or 9 cards out of every other person's deck, which is nice. And also it ensures your victory with an NVS turn. Because your opponent can't surprise you with anything. 2 Hanares. This isn't a getting, but it gives you early information, which is really nice. And a lot of the time it turns into essentially a free card because you get to cycle. The Chakra isn't all that relevant in this deck, but it's still nice to have information and extra cards. And then 3 Sabrus. I take this route instead of comp strengths, typically because it plays around Hina, and it's also a fire card, so it can be used for hand costs for a lot more cards in this deck. Onto the 1-drops. 3 Naruto Clone. This card is incredibly good for the deck. You have the option to search any of your other clone status cards. It also becomes a 5-0 or a 6-0 on its own, which is really hard to beat for a 1-drop, especially under NVS. 2 Sheikah Flexi. I started out with 3 of these in the deck and ended up on 2 just because you kind of had a lot of 1-drops in the deck, and you're trying to, even though your curve is very low, you don't want to have too many ninjas in the deck that are going to like clog up your turns. Also, Earth is only relevant for a couple of hand costs in the deck, which Lightning, Wind, and Fire are much more preferable to. And Lightning. Or, sorry, I already said Lightning. 1 Xion Awakened. Xion Awakened is a limited card for a very good reason. You give your opponent 3 BRs to get rid of anything 4 or lower, which is absolutely absurd. Being able to essentially play a 1-drop that's going to trade for your opponent's 4-drop is incredibly broken. It's not a Genin, but it supports some of your ninjas, and you can occasionally squat out into Naruto Xion to try and block your opponent's like turn 4 Kakashi or whatever. 1 Tamari Wind Scythe. It's good as a tech 1-up to squad with Tamari Gaara. Information is really key in the deck. Wind hand costs are also somewhat important, and it's also 2 support, which is relevant too. It's also a female. 3 KNS, best 2-drop in the game by far. Searchable off clone, growthable. Lightning hand cost is somewhat important, and if we were running the jutsu list, you could use Rasengan. 2 Tobis, this thing should be staple on everything. I wish it was at 3, but it's not. It's just free draws, and who doesn't like free draws? Naruto Alliance, this searches for like half the jutsu, or sorry, half the missions in your deck. Searches for NVS, also one of the best 3-drops in the game. Dual Element is really important. On your turn 3, having the extra support off of his effect is also quite strong. It also baits Sabaru a lot, which is kind of nice. 2 Jiraiya Childhood. This card is, I was actually not so sure about this card to begin with, but it's got Dual Element. It's a 5-2 on its own, and occasionally gets bigger, especially with cards like Naruto and Naruto Clone. In general, if you're trading early, that's really good for you if you have this Jiraiya in your hand. And the Chakra isn't that relevant because you're not playing jutsus, but outside of that, just overall amazing card. And it's valid, which is super relevant. 3 Might Guy. This is really important to try and win your NVS fights. Because you have Kibas in the deck, you're often not going, or your opponent can't play jutsus, and not a lot of people are running other interaction during the exchange of jutsus. So being able to Might Guy and win an extra 2 BRs when your opponent wasn't expecting it is really, really clutch. Onto the missions. 1 Nell. This card should be played in every single deck that can afford to. It's the best mission in the game. Absolutely absurd. Every time you draw this card, you feel like you're going to win. 3 Drifting Clouds. Essentially one of the best, if not the second best besides Nell, 1-drop mission in the game. Being able to exchange away a really bad hand is very, very key. It's also fire, which is really important as you're trying to have a lot of your hand costs be very consistent in the deck. Overall, just absolutely great mission card. Very good for cycle. 3 Monster Research. Essentially, this card is also for consistency. It really just, the most important thing is hitting your drops, being able to put on pressure onto your opponent, and try and win on turn 4 or 5 with an NVS play. So Monster Research helps you get there, and it also ensures that you're not missing a drop or making like a suboptimal turn. 3 Warhawk. One of the best missions in the game. It's only single element, which is kind of sad, but being able to draw 4 for a single turn 3 mission is absolutely absurd. The BRs aren't super relevant, because in general you should always be ahead when playing this deck. Your hand costs are pretty much always filled with fire because you're running like 30 or so fire cards. In general, just like one of the best missions. 3 NVS, this is your win condition for the deck. Almost every one of your Guineas in the deck is going to be able to win a fight with an opponent's Guinea. So in general, just overall, you're going to be able to push for BRs, and on turn 4 or 5, if you get to resolve this card, you're often going to be winning the game with it. And then last but not least, 3 Interruption. I think Disruption is really key in this format. I think that Interruption is the best counter mission negation in the game. I think that it's one of the main reasons why Fire is so strong right now. And yeah, that's it.
Alright guys, so you saw it here. This was Daniel Hearst giving you the rundown on his build for NVS. As you can see, it's a very fast deck, it's a very strong deck. Like he said, you know, there's a lot of counter to it, to the point where your opponent probably won't be able to keep up because your ninja effects definitely give you the added boost. And, you know, when all the information he gave, especially about like interruptions, if you're not playing interruption, you're playing fire, you're a bad player. Just so you know. But thank you, Daniel, for the deck tech. We really appreciate it here at the channel. And if you guys like what you saw here today, definitely leave a comment in the comment section below. Let us know your thoughts. Give us any, you know, suggestions that you may have on the build itself. Additionally, make sure you guys follow us on Twitter at TopDeckGaming1. And past that, this has been Big Juan Robles. And for those of you guys keeping the Naruto CCG dream alive, we salute you.